Hey everyone, it's Lexie. So in today's video I'm going to be sharing with you the top 5 books that I want to read this spring. So I apologize for my voice in here. I'm recovering from a very bad sinus infection that ended up going into my chest. I was doing so good the whole school year, but everyone was getting the flu, strep throat, bronchitis. I think I got up pretty easy, but last Friday I was like down for the count. I was like, this is how it ends. But I'm on the mend now. My voice, like, I'm feeling like 100% better. It's all in my chest. So I apologize for my funky voice. But if you guys been watching my past videos, I guess over the course of this year, you know that like my goal is to take down my TBR in 2018, and I feel like I've done a really good job. I think I've only purchased 3 books, and that was because I got a store credit, so I decided to use it then. But yeah, like I said, my goal in spring is to finish these books, and there's 16 books that I have left to finish, and I think I'm on a good track of getting these done over spring. So in summer, when summer comes around, I can actually start reading some of the books, and that's the motivation, because those books I'm really excited about, but these have been on my shelf for a while, so they are I want to get these. I'm making myself read these ones before I actually start any of the new ones. So yeah, without further ado, let's get started. This is like a murder mystery one that I remember being really excited about, but just for some reason I haven't picked it up, and it is My Sister's Grave by Robert Dugoni, and it's basically about a sister who's been struggling with her sister's murder, and it takes place 20 years afterwards, and everyone was convinced that her disappearance. So it says, Tracy Crosswhite has spent 20 years questioning the facts surrounding her sister Sarah's disappearance and the murder trial that followed. She doesn't believe that Edmund House, a convicted rapist, and the man condemned for Sarah's murder is a guilty party. Motivated by the opportunity to obtain real justice, Tracy became a homicide detective with the Seattle PD and dedicated her life to tracking down killers. When Sarah's remains are finally discovered near their hometown in northern Cascade Mountains of Washington State, Tracy is determined to get the answers she's been seeking. As she searches for the real killer, she unearths dark, long-kept secrets that forever change her relationship to her past and open the door to deadly danger. So this one sounds so intriguing. Like, I'm so excited to pick this one up. I know I'll be picking it up, like I said, probably in the next few weeks, because I think this one I'm super excited for. I'm a sucker for murder mysteries, and I think this one is so interesting, and I just find the character of Tracy just to be so interesting, how her sister was murdered and she didn't believe how everything turned out in terms of the conviction, so she becomes a detective and makes it her life goal to find out what happens. I think this one will be so interesting. It's actually fairly short. It's under 400 pages, but the font is pretty big, so I feel like I could fly through this, and I know the plot of this sounds so intriguing, so I know I'm going to be loving it. So in here I have basically a lot of historical fiction, because I'm a big historical fiction buff, and this one is Once We Were Brothers by Ronald H. Balson, and it basically follows 2 brothers who are in Germany, and they end up being on different sides of kind of the war. One is basically a Nazi, and the other one is totally against that, and it follows the course of their relationship and just the ups and downs, and just yeah, so it just seems so interesting, and yeah, I think this one will be really, just in terms of the complexity of it, I think it's really intriguing for me. I know particularly, like, I am a sucker for World War II, particularly historical fiction that centers around World War II, and I think this one will be very interesting to see the 2 perspectives and how they were raised within the same environment, and what led them to go down these 2 completely different paths, and just seeing how that evolves throughout the war and the aftermath of everything. So I think this one is really interesting. I already know I'm going to be in love with it. Again, this is another World War II book, and it is Those Who Save Us by Jenna Blum. And basically it says here, for 50 years, Anna Schulerman has refused to talk about her life in Germany during World War II. Her daughter Trudy was only 3 when her and her mother were liberated by an American soldier and went to live with him in Minnesota. Trudy's sole evidence of this past is an old photograph, a family portrait showing Anna, Trudy, and a Nazi officer. Trudy, now a professor of German history, begins investigating the past and finally unearths the heartbreaking truth of her mother's life. So I think this one will be very interesting as well. Like I said, anything with World War II and historical fiction, and I think also just kind of discovering this past of yours that you don't really remember, but it had such a significant part in just world history, I think is so interesting. And I think this also one is going to just be complex, dynamic, and again, this one I've heard really great things about, so I'm really excited. This one is a little different in terms of historical fiction, and it is The Kitchen House by Kathleen Grissom. So basically it takes place in the turn of the 19th century on a tobacco plantation in Virginia. So it says, White Lavinia, who was orphaned on her passage from Ireland, arrived on the steps of the kitchen house and is placed under the care of Belle, the master's illegitimate black daughter. Lavinia learns to cook, clean, serve food, and cherish the quiet strength and love for her new family. In time, Lavinia is accepted into the world of the bakehouse, caring for the master's opium-addicted wife and befriending his dangerous yet protective son. She attempts to straddle the worlds of the kitchen and the bakehouse, but her skin color will forever set her apart from Belle and the other slaves. So I think this one, again, is just sounds so intriguing, and especially I haven't read anything that kind of deals with kind of the racial problems and problems that still exist today in the US, and I've kind of been very, like, I don't know, I just haven't ventured into this, and I think this one will really kind of open my eyes into it. It sounds so interesting, and just all the dynamics that were taking place during this time, and I feel like a lot of the kind of themes in here are very relevant in today's society, and I think this one will just be a page turner, and it's just like, I don't know, I don't even know how to express how excited I am to read this. It just seems so interesting and unique from what I've read, because I usually, like I said, I usually stick to World War II, and I think this one could add some diversity to my reading. So this is one, again, that's been on my shelf for a while, and it is The Aviator's Wife by Melanie Benjamin. And basically it says, when Anne Morrow, a shy college senior with hidden literary aspirations, travels to Mexico City to spend Christmas with her family, she meets Colonel Charles Lindbergh, fresh off his celebrated 1927 solo flight across the Atlantic. Enthralled by Charles' assurance and fame, Annie is certain the aviator will scarcely notice her, but she is wrong. Charles sees in Anne a kindred spirit, a fellow adventurer, and she will and her world will forever change. The two marry in a headline-making wedding. In the years that follow, Anne becomes the first licensed female glider pilot in the United States, but despite this and other major achievements, she is viewed merely as the aviator's wife. So this fairy tale life she's once longed for will bring heartbreak and hardship, ultimately pushing her to reconcile her need for love and her desire for independence, and to embrace at last life's infinite possibilities for change and happiness. So I think this one will be really interesting, and just the time frame that it takes place in also seems intriguing as well, just kind of how women were treated in a marriage, and just not only kind of the dynamics there, but also how women are viewed in society, and just kind of drawing parallels again with the past and now, I think will be really interesting. This one, it seems really unique, again, from what I've been typically drawn to when reading, but I think this one will be really interesting, and I think this is loosely based off of a true story. I could be wrong. Editing Lexie will insert something here, but yeah, I think this one will be really interesting, and yeah, I'm excited to see what this one has in store. So that's it, guys. Thank you guys so much for watching. Let me know in the comments below if you have any exciting reads that you will be reading this spring. And yeah, don't forget to give this video a thumbs up, and I will see you guys next time. Bye, guys.